My name is Kyle Moyer, and with me I have CEO Dwain Irvin, Dr. Dwain Irvin, Ph.D., MPH, who is the company founder along with the founder of StemVax Therapeutics. I have John Cassarini, who's the board chairman, and I have Jason Anderson, who is the newest member of the executive board. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
So I'd like to ask you, Jason, since you're the newest member to the company, and this might be something that you've spent some time considering, why is the company well positioned considering its progress toward marketable immunotherapy with the full spectrum of milestones that the company's achieved so far?
Well, thank you for having us on today and giving us an opportunity to speak a little bit about our therapeutic candidate and why we're excited by it. The question's best answered by the fact that the treatment of glioblastoma has remained one of the kind of great unmet needs in oncology and cancer care broadly. While we've seen a lot of progress in other cancer types over the last 50 years, you think about all the advances we've seen in lung cancer, all the advances we've seen in breast cancer, in colorectal cancers, with really improved outcomes and people now reaching remission in these cancer types. We've not seen a commensurate increase in the outcome in terms of either overall survivability or quality of life in glioblastoma. And for me, the wonderful opportunity to sit on this board with my peers here is a personal one. My own grandmother died of glioblastoma in the 1960s. And when you look at the statistics from 1960s to today, so 6 decades, there's been no measurable real improvement in overall survivability for people that have been afflicted with this tumor type. So it remains a great unmet need. So that kind of sets the kind of backdrop, right? That there's been not a real breakthrough in this area, and it's an area where something like what we're doing with our dendritic cell therapy could really make a substantial impact in terms of survivability and quality of life for patients around the world that are afflicted with this disease. So the positioning of the company is really of 2 functions. The first one is the quality of our staff, our science, and our basic technology. The second one is against the backdrop of the fact that the competitive landscape is wide open. And so for us to really achieve our goals against that backdrop is going to be a huge and significant marker in the progress against this tumor type. So that's my kind of twofold answer to your question. I hope the people listening to this share our enthusiasm for wanting to make a real impact against this tumor type.
Thank you. That's quite insightful. And I appreciate your sharing what it is about the technology that resonates with you personally. John, this next question is for you. Being that you're so long in the tooth in the investment world, what challenges face the market today, and why is NovAccess Global doing things in the right way to set itself apart from its peers to avoid the common struggles?
The challenges in the market are significant. The last 12, 18 months has seen a significant sell-off in the biotech industry. Additionally, financing has become more expensive. So companies such as ours that are in the early stage need the ability to raise capital, access to capital, and when we receive the capital, use it as efficiently as possible. So being that I've survived numerous downturns and throughout my investment career, we're trying to have a bare bones approach, raising capital judiciously and trying to only expend the money as we need it. There's no jets, there's no company cars, everyone does everything. And we're just trying to promote a common goal to get the science forward and into the hands of the people who need it.
Thank you. And that makes sense, as NovAccess Global is addressing an unmet need with glioblastoma. So, John, can you speak to the investment opportunity potential, considering the current stage, the pre-NASDAQ uplist that NovAccess Global finds itself in now with a recent uplist within the OTC markets?
Certainly. We're an early stage company, and if you the approval process for a biotech company is multi-stage. And as you move up the stage process, your valuation increases exponentially. So considering we're at the bottom of the rung for the approval process only because we're in the process of getting these things moving. So you have to start at ground zero and move up. So as we move up, and the science is shown, and hopefully the effectiveness of the science is proven clinically and to the FDA, our valuation should expand exponentially with successful milestones achieved.
And this is an open question for anybody that would like to answer it, but NovAccess Global is taking a unique approach in its timing with going public. Is that right? In that it's going public earlier than most companies would?
Yes, it is sort of like a venture stage. It is a venture stage biotech company pre-approval, but there are various paths to going public and achieving. Dr. Irvin chose to take this path, which presents its own challenges, but gives a wider opportunity set for people to gain on this, as opposed to a handful of venture capitalists. So it's many people can invest. It's traded freely every day, and people can invest and join in the success much earlier. It's a pre-$10 million enterprise value right now, and sub $10 million, excuse me. And I believe if it was a private company going for funding from VCs, the valuation that it would receive would be significantly higher.
Interesting.
Now, if I can comment on this too, this is an important point that John's made. Since we are in the public market, it gives the opportunity for our investors in real time to react to our areas of performance. And we have a pretty busy calendar going forward. Dr. Irvin will speak a little bit about that. But at each of these different inflection points and milestones, all of which are very significant in either the clinical pathway, the regulatory pathway, the differentiation between our family of technologies and that elsewhere, it gives the opportunity for our investors to participate in real time and to capture that value as we move up the ladder that John spoke about. So I think that there's a sensitivity here. It's, when you're a public company, you are of course subject to what the public feels your real value is, right? And so one of the important things here is, like you're doing today with us, is giving us the opportunity to say, look, there are a number of different significant milestones that we're marching out towards. And at each of those, you'll be able to judge us on the quality of our work, judge us in terms of our regulatory achievements. And then I think hopefully our investors will be rewarded, as we expect, as we pass through each of those important gates. And the calendar's replete with them. So Dr. Irvin is most well positioned to, I think, speak to that.
Dr. Irvin, I would like to address the next question to you, which dovetails with Jason's comment. And that has to do with human clinical trials and the opportunity that investors will have to kind of get in before those start, which is, again, as I was asking for information previously, that's not typical. So in that atypical approach that the company is taking to allow investors to become part of the company prior to the human clinical trial process starting, and the fact that that will begin with the FDA's approval within this next year or so. Can you give us some insight on kind of the milestones from that point forward?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. First I wanted to say that we're really focused in on the asset, this company, and the science, and moving that forward. We want to bring the technology to market as quickly as possible. We want to bring the technology to people, to glioblastoma patients as quickly as possible. As Jason mentioned before, there's a significant unmet need with no significant change in overall or progression-free survival for these patients in over 50 years, where other cancers have benefited from the advancements of chemo and radiation. We haven't really seen that in the brain as of yet. Furthermore, it's a relatively novel technology, immunotherapy, that's only really started to come to market. Prostate cancer roughly 5-10 years ago, and now more recently in some other cancers. Nothing still yet in the brain. And so we have an opportunity here to move technology forward. That's roughly the third iteration, if you will, coming out of our department of this particular technology. And it's a platform-based technology. And we just thought that to accelerate bringing this to market, we would take it public now and get people engaged, informed now, and get a movement, if you will, now from the community, investment community, patient-based community, marketing community, et cetera. And really get the word out about not just what we're doing, but immunotherapy in general for brain tumor patients. Now, so we made those decisions to go public for some of those reasons. Now we are choosing to, again, focus in on the asset. So now that we're public, we want to actually we're an IND stage company, which means we're going to the FDA asking for approval to start human clinical trials. And we did that last year through a pre-IND process. And the FDA provided a roadmap for us on what we needed to put into our application, what data we needed to present in our application in order to be successful and start human clinical trials. So that's our number one focus. And once we've generated that data and filed the IND, typically that's an opportunity for an improvement in one's valuation, if you will, because the people see the progress. And if we obtain FDA approval, and that's typically almost an inflection point for a lot of companies starting human clinical trials. And we plan to get that application in early 2023 and presumably get approval sometime thereafter to begin and start human clinical trials. And so that becomes a great inflection point for the company that historically with others typically allows for a significant increase in value. And so those who invest now may actually have an opportunity to see an increase in the value of their investment a year from now, even though this is a long-term venture for most investment opportunities in this space. In other words, it will take us 10 years or so to bring this technology to market, maybe a couple of years earlier if we get a fast track type opportunity, and that's yet to be determined. But this is a long-term investment that there are opportunities for exit along the way, but effectively, if exit is getting this drug to market, and then we're looking at 7 to 10 years or so before we actually get there. But again, the opportunity for not just investors, but the community in general is here now. And again, there's opportunity both on the long term and on the short term for exits and taking advantage of potential increase in valuation.
Along those lines,
strategy behind that. Focus in on the asset first. Get the data that we need for the IND application, because getting FDA approval to start human clinical trials is our number one objective at this stage. And then I think providing the investors that come in now the opportunity to benefit from that investment by hopefully seeing an increase in value through potentially an FDA approval process to start human clinical trials, et cetera.
Can the path to market be expedited through the company in the fact that it's currently public, and the investment capital that would come in from that once the company starts becoming more well known? Is that something that can help to expedite its path to market, or is that unrelated?
No, absolutely. I think as the value increases and more people are aware about the company, and if we're making good strides and demonstrating safety and efficacy in our trials, then that increase in value should make it easier to raise capital to perform the next assay or to perform the next human clinical trial and to move things forward. Other companies have had to, for example, One of our competitors have just completed a phase 3 trial. It took them a very long time, almost 10 years. And if you ask them, they will tell you most of this was related to their ability or inability to obtain funding to get the trials going and done. And so we want to avoid all of that, or do our best to not find ourselves in that situation. And we can learn from the shortcomings that they made, and perform better. Again, this is new technology, and that's part of it, right? This is not a new chemo drug or not a new radiation technique. This is very, very new approach to treating cancer, using the patient's own immune system to attack and kill this cancer. Potentially could be less toxic, et cetera, and more effective. And so I think for these reasons, it takes some time to bring it to market. But these trials have been going on in this space for almost 20 years now. And I think we are very close in this next decade in getting some immunotherapy out to treat glioblastoma patients. And hopefully we'll be of the first.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time today. And I hope we can regroup and talk again once some strides have been made go forward.
Thank you very much, Jay Kyle. Very much appreciated. It's good to be here with the board as well. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.